It's me. Leave a message at the beep.
Hey man, it's me. So, a while back we talked about the best way to get cheap airfare, and one of the things you'd suggested is, don't even bother going online. Just go to the international district and look for a travel agent, because sometimes, crazy as it sounds, they have better deals. So I did that. And I was looking to go to Chicago, and the travel agent was like, "Ooh, Chicago, I don't know, man. Lots of people die in Chicago. I mean, the crime rate is really high, and it's really windy." And I was like, "Well, can you suggest a safer place to go?" And they said, "Kabul, uh, you know, Syria is nice this time of year. You could go to North Korea. All of those places would be safer than going to Chicago." And I was like, that's funny. I actually have a friend who's considering moving to Chicago, and she interrupted me. She's like, "Oh, your friend must be a crazy person. Do not let him move to Chicago." And I said, "Well, aside from slashing the tires on the U-Haul, which, believe me, I can do, I can't really stop him." So anyway, just wanted to let you know, thanks for the advice on the little pro tip there about, going to a off-brand travel agent and not going to Chicago. Okay, give me a call back, bro. Bye. Welcome, my friends. Welcome to the show, to the podcast broadcast of the Brian K. White Glossy News 4K News Review Entertainment bullshit. Whatever it's called. Whatever it is called. It doesn't matter what it's called, in part because I have such a tight core of loyal fans that you just know who I am. You know me. Today is February 8th, 2016, and we're back. I've got some really great stuff to talk about this week. I've got a segment on GMO foods. I've got a prank idea that'll knock your socks off. I've got a great altruistic thing we can all take part in. And, other stuff too. How to run your household like a business. You're going to love it all. I promise you, or no money back. That's a guarantee. It's a guarantee you can take to the bank. Just like a blank check that hasn't been signed and doesn't have a routing number on it. You can take it in, you just can't cash it. So guys, I want to get started. I really do. I'm a little concerned about recent stats, about recent viewership and listenership. I've had some problems with YouTube, some real problems with YouTube, and even though the listenership is growing, the listenership on the new episodes isn't doing great. A lot of it seems to be focused on older episodes, which, I don't know, that's great too. I mean, that's an investment in the future. But let's just get on to this week's sponsor. This week's podcast is brought to you in part by Being Off My Meds. Being off my meds. It makes me emotional, short-tempered, makes me sleep terribly, and generally unpleasant to be around. Being off my meds. It's not just a choice. It's not a choice. Because my doctor wouldn't renew my prescription, and I can't go see her again because my counselor quit, and I have to get a new one to refer me back to her. It's really unpleasant. There are so many side effects. The first week was, it was unpleasant. But the subsequent weeks have also been unpleasant. Being off my meds. It's not just this week's sponsor. It is, of course, What's for Dinner. All right. Let's get started. So as you start having kids, one thing that's important to do is get your house in order. Now, when I was single and childless, my house was in order. It was always clean. I always knew where my laundry was. I always knew where everything was. I had my clothes planned out easily 3 to 5 days in advance. It was very efficient. But now I've got kids. The house is chaos. Things are hard to find. You put something in one place, it disappears. It disappears. You ask the kids where something is, and they're like, oh, I know where that is. It's in your room, in your closet, next to the safe. And you're like, wait a minute. How do you have a better inventory of what is in my closet than I do? You know what? Never mind. I already know the answer. It's because you're bored and curious, just like I was as a kid. I also ransacked the house. And if that's not a normal kid thing, perhaps it's genetic because I did it too. So what you have to do is you have to run your home like a business. You have to systematize things. You have to set up processes to make everything flow smoothly. Now, one thing I do is if I find that Tina has it set up so that I cannot do laundry. The laundry room is so crowded that I just don't even fit in there. And she's tried to do that with the whole house, putting furniture too close together, so I'm always banging into walls and knocking my shoulders on stuff. But the laundry room is her territory. She's made sure that I am completely at her mercy. So one common complaint is, can I get some goddamn socks? The answer typically is yes, but you have to ask. I have to ask for socks. I just have to. So when this gets to be too frequent, I'll go out and just buy more socks. Sometimes I'll buy 24 socks. And then magically, 24 days later, I'm out of socks again. It's like we're right back to where we started. If you were to do all the laundry at once, I probably have 80, 90 pairs of socks. And that's fine. It's not like you can overbuy socks. It's not like you can have too many. It's not like they're going to wear out before I get to them. No, I just have more in rotation. But you reach a point where it's too much. And that's where you have to run the family like a business. So I did what any good manager would do. And I said, okay, Tina, come here. We have to have a talk. So she comes in, she sits down. I say, can I get you anything? Do you need coffee, water? She's like, what? No, I'm fine. What's going on? Is everything okay? I said, well, no, everything's not okay. I kind of need to talk to you. She's like, gosh, okay, sure. What's going on? I said, okay, look, the sock situation has come to my attention. And she's like, wait. Is this about the socks? I go, shh. No, please. Just let me finish. I've had to write you up. Now, with good behavior, this write-up will go away in time. But for now, I'm going to need you to sign this acknowledging that you have been made aware of this write-up. Now, if we get to 3 of these, well, let's just say it will affect your performance reviews in the future. And she goes, oh, I see what this is about. This is because we didn't get to go on our date. I go, no. The date is separate. And by the way, just like all jobs, you should be sleeping with your coworkers. No, this isn't about that. I will, obviously you're going to get written up for performance issues there, but that's not the point right now. Right now, what we're talking about is the socks. So I've written this up. I just put down poor judgment, and I need you to sign it, acknowledging that you've received this. And I'd like you to work on your performance in the future. And what she said may surprise you. What she said is, look, I know this isn't a real conversation and you're going to make up this whole thing just for the sake of a podcast. And she's right, in a way, in that it's just something I really want to do. When a light bulb goes out and I ask her 10 times to replace it, replace the goddamn light bulb. I went out and bought all these expensive LEDs. Just replace it. And I know you're saying, well, Brian, just replace it yourself. I'd love to, but I don't know where the goddamn light bulbs are. she hides everything. It's her strategy. It's how she runs the house as a business. Her business strategy is to keep others dependent on her so that we can't do the little things ourselves. We can't wash our own socks. We can't change our own light bulbs. It's how she adds value. She makes herself indispensable. So really, you just have to decide what kind of business you're running and what your role in the business is. Frankly, I'm pretty sure my kids are just the angel investors or the clients that we got from a previous salesman or sales manager who we're stuck with. I'm not sure, but all around, man, it's a business, and you just got to engineer it as such. Technology. So those of you who know me personally or have listened to really any amount of my podcasts or watched any amount of my videos in the past know that I've had my fair share of run-ins with YouTube and their copyright system. Now, I believe copyright is fundamentally flawed. If you take a song like We'll Meet Again, which is 67 years old and was recorded before the copyright reforms that Disney brought in the 40s and then again in the 60s and then again in the 80s. No, We'll Meet Again is still under copyright, despite being 67 years old, despite the author having died long ago, despite his family having sold the rights to a big publisher who just now collects money. That's fine. That's fine. It's bullshit, but it's fine. No, the problem I have is that YouTube's copyright management system is fundamentally flawed. In podcast 25 or 6, maybe 26, I did a segment about copyright in which I mentioned how mashups would be better without copyright. Now, to use 40 seconds of a mashup of Dolly Parton's 9 to 5, I heavily modified it. I put all kinds of echo and weird shit on it to try and trick the filter so it wouldn't catch it, but it still caught it. And even though the video I uploaded was never published, it still got flagged. And they said, nope, no problem, no problem. The publisher is just going to take all your revenue from it and restrict which countries it can play in. And it can't play in Germany, and we reserve the right to add additional countries later. Now that's great, except it's a 48-minute broadcast, it's a 48-minute podcast, and 40 seconds of it uses less than 1/3 of the song. And it uses it in the context of discussing the song and how it pertains to copyright in the first goddamn place, which means it falls exactly under the fair use exemption. Commentary, criticism. So, if I was pragmatic, I'd have said, fine, take it. I don't make any money off these things anyway. And it's on a podcast. This particular segment was not even published. So you know what? Just let it slide, man. Let it slide. But I can't. I believe in justice, baby. I believe in fairness, and this is unfair. So I responded back, no, it's fair use, it's criticism. And YouTube warned me, if you submit this appeal and it is rejected, your account could face consequences. I'm like, well, you know what? I have to do what's right. So I filed the appeal. Well, they instantly, like within seconds, reinstated the appeal saying, no, we own it. To which YouTube sent me a message saying, they own it. They assert they own it, they own it. Which means they're a bigger publisher than me. YouTube cannot piss off people like this, or they will pull all their content, and a lot of great stuff will disappear from YouTube. The problem being, they don't have the rights in this case. It is fair use. It is within my rights. So I thought about it, and I was like, well, do I give them all the revenue from this clip and from the entire podcast just to make it go away? And I thought, you know what? No, forget it. I'm going to appeal it. So I appealed it a second time, I included all the legal statutes. I had to justify every aspect of it being fair use. How much is it harming their marketability? How much is it watering down their brand? And at the end of it, YouTube warns me, if they come back and say they own it, this will count as a copyright strike and your account will be restricted. Meaning, they can make it so that my account can no longer upload videos longer than 10 minutes. Well, my podcast clearly exceeds that by, 5 times, 6 times. So really, this company, without so much as looking at it, without so much as considering it, without so much as reviewing it, can shut down my entire fucking podcast channel. Now that's horseshit. And I have no legal recourse. The company is not even located in the US. They're in Germany. So what do? Do I fly to Germany to file a lawsuit? I'd have to hire an attorney. I'd have to fly there. I mean, I can't do it. And YouTube does not give a shit about small publishers. Not in the first, not in the least, not in the last. It is ridiculous. I've had an individual video taken down 5 times, only to be reinstated every time because it was fair use. And it was taken down, 5 times by the same people. And they know what they're doing. And they, have to provide a contact, but the contact doesn't have to actually lead anywhere. The email doesn't work. The phone numbers don't work. Well, there's no phone number. The emails don't work. And if you try and get in touch with them through the company, you can't. You can't. You just can't. And they don't have to prove anything. They just have to say that they're right. So it is my belief that I will begin transitioning over to Vimeo, because Vimeo is a lot more publisher friendly and a lot less copyright abuse, usury, jackass friendly. And that's unfortunate, but is it? YouTube is one of those companies that wouldn't cross the street to piss on you if you were on fire. And their system it's just really fucked. So, yeah, copyright reform, man. It's an idea that just has to happen. And all it would take is some accountability, the first ounce of accountability for wrongful takedowns. I can understand the system flagging it, and that's why I appeal. But when they look at it and just automatically with a bot respond, nope, we own it. Well, you don't. You didn't even review the claim. That should be punishable. And technically, under the DMCA laws, it is punishable, but to my knowledge, there has yet to be a single case of a DMC abuse company, of a company abusing DMCA rules, ever being held accountable. And the reason is, I can only sue them for what I lose. And what I lose is 10 cents, 20. It won't change anything. It's just fucked. The whole system, man. Other channels, put up clips of Rick and Morty with commentary, as they are allowed to do, and they don't get taken down. They don't get abused. I mean, maybe they do. I only see the ones that don't. Watch Mojo puts up constant clips of movies, and they don't get taken down. But that's because they're a big established publisher, and I'm just some asshat with a podcast. So yeah, the copyright system is pretty fucking broken. Are you like me and looking for a fun little prank to play on your friends, family, not so friendly friends whose houses you visit? I, this week, encountered the funniest damn thing I've seen online in about forever, and it's a great little idea on how to play a prank on someone, a very subtle, not terribly expensive, incredibly infuriating prank. So here's what you do. Before you go to their house, you swing by Lowe's, Home Depot, and you spend $5-6 and you pick up a smoke alarm. And you throw a 9-volt battery in it so it's fresh, it's brand new. And when you go to their house, you find an opportunity when they're not around, and you find their vent on the floor, and you lift it up, and you put the smoke detector inside the vent. Push it in there nice and far, like reach in and then give it a shove so it slides a good 4 or 5 feet. Now, the battery in that smoke alarm is going to last at least a year, maybe 2. But that means in 2 years, the battery will get low and it will chirp. Every 2 minutes, religiously, it will chirp. And they're going to go, honey, do you hear that? There's smoke alarms. The battery's low. So they're going to change the batteries in their smoke alarm, which is great. You could be saving lives. But the chirp's not going to go away. So they're going to look around for it, and they're not going to find it because it's nowhere they would think to look. And if it's in the ducts, it's going to chirp in every room on that floor. And if it's a split-level house where upstairs has floor vents and downstairs has ceiling vents, the chirp is going to be almost equally loud in every room of the house. They're going to wander around. Okay, you know what? I thought it was in the living room. Now that I'm in the bedroom, I'd swear it's in here. Well, you know what? Now, no, I'm downstairs, and I'm confident it's down here. I can hear the goddamn thing. I just can't find it. Now, it might take another 6 to 12, maybe 24 months for this thing to stop beeping. And we're talking 30 beeps an hour. I mean, that's really fun. That's like, 1,000 beeps a day, man. That's like, what would that be? 10,000 beeps a week? They're going to go insane, and they'll never find it. They can look and look and look, and they will never find it. You will officially be the worst person in their life, and you can't cop to this. It'll be 10 years before they figure out it was you, and only then because they mention in passing, oh yeah, I had that happen one time. It drove me crazy, and you're like, wah, sucker, that was me. I stuffed a smoke alarm in your vents. And they'll say, well, that's not even possible. You haven't been to my house in 15 years. No, I haven't. I put a nice, fresh, high quality battery in it, so it would last 2 years before it started chirping. I mean, really, that's something, if you're dating someone new, you could do that to them. And if things don't work out, to hell with them. They get the chirp, and you're gone. And if you're still with them, you can go, oh, honey, don't worry about it. I'll track it down. And you just reach in and grab it, and there you go. Put a fresh battery in. Give that partner another 3 to 5 years. It'll be great. You can't not go wrong. Everybody wins except for everybody. And it's funny. It's so evil and funny. Somebody please do this and report back with the results, because this one is just too good. So I made a fun joke a while back about how owning a Pontiac means that I am on a first name basis with my mechanics, and guess what? I am. I blew a fuse last week. Not personally. I mean, I'm sure I did, but that's not the reason my keyless entry no longer works. No, the van had some issues. And I went on some online forums and poked around, and I didn't get very comprehensive answers. And I brought it in, and it turns out it's because there are no comprehensive answers. There's a bunch of stuff wrong. So I'm getting an oil change. That's $40, no problem. But the control module is out, which is $300 plus the labor to put it in, and that means tearing out half the dash to get to it. And also, the reason the heat doesn't work is because the heater core is out, and that needs to be replaced. But the good news is that's kind of in the same general area, so a little bit of savings on the labor. It's another $740 repair. Oh, for the love of God. That's the trick with used cars. You save money going in, but God, you just have to really budget to keep the damn things on the road. And it's great that I don't have a monthly payment. But Christ on a crab cracker, I might as well. I don't know at what point this isn't worth it. And I've got to think I've lost at this point, because I only paid maybe $3,500 for the van, and I've already spent, after this repair, maybe $4,500 keeping it on the road. Oh, it's painful. It's so painful. So, yeah, that's great. That's exciting. I guess there really isn't a point to this, except to say, I still love you, Pontiac. Still love you. Wish my air conditioning worked, but I'm not about to put any more money into that. Certainly not in the winter. So, yeah, there you go.
Health news, you sick bastard!
Nope. We can do better than that. Roll the new bumper. So there's a lot of talk about GMOs, genetically modified organisms, the superfoods, the frankenfoods, you know the stuff. Crazy agri-scientists have been working for, a generation or so to splice together new genes to make crops produce higher yields, to make them more resistant to bugs, to make them resistant to very specific pesticides. And there's been some pushback. Maybe it's legitimate pushback, maybe it's not. I was of the camp that we should be cautiously optimistic, a bit skeptical. And Bill Nye was of the same belief. Well, Bill Nye was invited by the scientists of Monsanto to come out, see their lab, see their procedures, check it out, see what he thinks. And he came out of it a changed man. He said, yeah, I've seen it. My concerns have been assuaged. I am no longer fearful of GMOs. And since Bill Nye is a man of science and someone I've trusted since I was a kid, watching him as the science guy, that convinced me. I am convinced the concern over GMO crops is grossly overhyped. But that doesn't explain the behavior of the likes of GMO and their ilk. Why all the double secret dealings? Why all the attempts to obscure the science behind it? Why no outside testing? Why do they spend millions, if not tens or hundreds of millions, fighting things like labeling? They don't want us to know if there's GMO in the foods we're eating? Guess what, guys? There is. Just plain and simple, there is. If you buy any processed food, potato chips, Doritos, soda pop, any of that stuff, if it's got more than maybe 5 or 6 ingredients, you can bet your ass there's GMO in it. So what do they think? We're going to stop buying food altogether? Let the people on the fringes who have the money to avoid GMOs and the inclination, let them do it. Why fight it so hard? If you have nothing to hide, why do you spend so much money hiding it? It's really cause for alarm. The no outside testing thing is pretty alarming too. And I gotta say, I'm not a fan. So yeah, GMOs, I'm personally, I'm okay with them. I don't think it would change my buying habits. I'm certainly not more inclined to buy organic over non-organic goods, and that's in part because organic has its own whole host of problems, but that's because I've researched them myself, and maybe I'll address those in another podcast. But, guys, if you have nothing to hide, why in the hell do you work so hard to hide it? So the penny jar? It's great. Got a penny? Leave a penny. Need a penny? Take a penny. It works. If your bill is $5.02 and you got a $5 bill, you grab 2 pennies out, you're done. If it's $4.98, they give you 2. You don't want them. They're pennies. Drop them in the jar. Well, I've adopted that. I've adopted that policy, and not with pennies, because I keep my pennies and use my pennies, and math is not that hard. I'm not one of those people who keeps a change jar like a common, lazy, mathematically inept weirdo. No, I actually use my money as I have it, because it's money. But what I do is sometimes I'll go to the movie theater and buy the kids, I'll buy a half dozen hot dogs. I don't know what condiments they want. I'm certainly not going to take inventory and get a proper order. I just grab a bunch of condiments, throw them in my pocket. Same thing at Taco Bell. Grab a bunch of hot sauce, throw it in my pocket. Well, invariably, this means I end up with too many condiments. So, got a condiment? Leave a condiment. Need a condiment? Take a condiment. It's perfect for everyone. So the other day, I was at the mechanic, and I was getting myself a nice cup of coffee. And by nice, I mean decent. And by cup, I mean terrible coffee. So I grabbed some Sweet and Low and put it in, and some of the fake creamer. And then I realized, you know what? I've got 3 mustard packets in my pocket. So what am I going to do with 3 mustard packets? So I just added them to the collection of Sweet and Low and sugar packets. I mean, I don't know. Somebody may want mustard packets for their coffee. It's not for me to say. I'm not going to judge, but I don't need them, and maybe someone else will. At the very least, someone's going to get some joy from finding mustard packets in with the coffee condiments. And no, in case you're curious, there is no food there. They don't even have popcorn, just coffee. So really, it works out well. And wouldn't you be in a moment of giggly joy if you were at Arby's and you found some Taco Bell hot sauce packets? Or if you were at Taco Bell and found some Arby's barbecue sauce or horsey sauce or a packet of whatever Arby's sauce is, but it's absolutely terrible. It's runny and not very good. No, this is what you do. If you end up with too much, you just have to give back. It's not your place to throw it away. There is money there. There's value. And it's disrespectful to whoever paid for it, certainly not you. It's disrespectful to Mother Earth. It's disrespectful to the people who collect garbage to have to throw away things that are perfectly good. No, share them. Share them. Got a condiment? Leave a condiment. It really doesn't matter where. Put it in the collection plate. Surely someone at the church could get more value from your random packet of ketchup, honestly, than they could from another 300 prayers. So don't waste your time giving them prayers that they don't need, because frankly, they've got enough. They've already got God on their side. It's his house. No, take something from the other house, from the clown's house, from Ronald McDonald House, and give it to the church. It's just one more way to give back. And isn't that what we're all here to do? When I was a kid, there were a lot of jobs that I wanted as an adult. At one point, I thought, astronaut. And then that whole Challenger kerfuffle happened where the world was asked to watch a shuttle launch for the first time in ages as a school teacher went up and promptly died. Yeah, I haven't really wanted to be an astronaut since then, especially since I learned about how impossible it is to do things like cry and poo. Yes, pooing apparently takes 45 minutes, and you have to squeeze it out and then grab it with a glove because it doesn't just fall out like it would in gravity. No, astronauts off the table. At one point, I wanted to be a jeweler because my mom was incredibly vain, and she'd convinced me that that was a thing. And thank God I didn't go into that, because jewelers in America seldom make money anymore now that, artistic labor like that is done offshore so much cheaper. But there are other things I didn't think I'd do professionally, which I actually do. Did you know I brush teeth professionally? Yes, I do. See, if I don't brush my teeth, I get cavities, and then I have to pay for them. So, de facto, I am a professional toothbrusher. I'm a professional car driver. I am a professional cook. I can go out to eat all the time, and I do from time to time, but every time I don't, I save money. I make money. I bought a 50-pound bag of potatoes at Cash and Carry. Good ones, the restaurant-style bakers, for like $7. That's too many. That's too many potatoes. I didn't want to buy them. Tina insisted. We bought them. We've given most of them to her brother and his wife and child, but we've cooked, 6 of them. So I am a professional cook. I could buy instant mashed potatoes or frozen tater tots or French fries, but I could also just cook the damn things myself. It's interesting. Anything you don't pay someone else to do, you are a professional. J-Dog built most of his fence himself, which means he's a professional carpenter? Fenster? Das Fenster. Nope, that's a window. Fencing Olympian. Nope, that's not right either. No, anything that you could pay someone else to do, but you don't, you are, now that you're an adult, a professional at. Now, there are things you just can't get around. But take, for example, altering your clothes, hemming your pants. You could pay someone $15 or $20 to hem your pants, or for not much time at all, even if you don't have a sewing machine, you could realistically hem your own pants over the course of an hour while you're watching TV. You're a professional seamstress, or tailor, or seamster, or something along those lines. You get the idea. Yeah, anything. There are so many things you can pay other people to do that you don't need to. Some guy comes by, wants to clean your gutters. Do you realize that you could either pay him $200 to clean your gutters, or for free, you could just not clean them? I mean, right there, you're coming out ahead. You've got no time invested, no money invested, and all you're risking is, technically some dry rot, but it's going to take 20 years and you're not going to live there that long, and a little bit of drippage around the perimeter of the house. It's not a big deal. It's not. My friends, it is not a big deal. So, yeah. Welcome to the world of being what I guess you could call a professional adult. So here's a pre-Tumblr moment. Here's a racial absurdity moment. This is from well into the pre-Tumblr days. Back in about, what would it be, 2001 or 2-ish, maybe 2003, probably 2002, I was invited by my mom to go down to New Orleans. She was down there for work, and she extended her stay by a few days. So her husband, my stepdad, Steve, he went down. I went down as well. They used her points, because she traveled a lot, to get a king-size room, a double room. And she had a friend down there, Jenny, who showed us around New Orleans. It was great. Now, when you vacation with my mom, you vacation on a tight schedule. And we did it all, man. I was there, I'm going to say 3 or 4 days, and we did it all. We drove to Mississippi for a bit. We did a bayou tour. We did a haunted tour. We got a donkey ride. It was great. And we also went on a plantation tour. Now I come back to work and I tell my coworkers, oh, it was so amazing. We did the ghost tour. We did a tour of old medicine, of old doctor's offices and dentist offices. And we went to a plantation. Oh, a plantation. A plantation. How dare you? My coworker, I don't remember her name, was so offended. How could you go to a plantation? Now, she was pregnant at the time, so perhaps hormones were playing a factor. She was very nice, but she was a proud woman of color, and she couldn't believe that I would have the audacity to visit a plantation. I said, okay, first of all, it's not owned by a slave owner anymore, right? She goes, well, that's not the point. I said, okay, what is the point? She goes, well, it was owned by a slave owner. I go, right, but that's history. And I mean, if history is to serve any purpose, hopefully it should serve as a lesson to future generations. But wait a minute. The bigger point is this particular plantation was owned by a free man of color, a former slave. And at least according to the curators, he was a very fair master, at least by the standards of the time. But how is that even relevant? What if it was owned by the most evil white man ever? Shouldn't I still go and see the history and understand why we should never do this again? Why we should never allow even a momentary lapse in moral judgment to look back on it? I mean, who the fuck is she judging me? All I did was give $7 to some non-profit group run through the state, as best I could tell, to understand what life was like for slaves 280, 90 years ago. So crazy. She was so offended that I went to a plantation for a tour. Now, while we're on the subject, I should tell you the funniest true story that ever happened. We went to do a carriage ride around the French Quarter. And you can just hire a little cart and go around. There was 3 of us, my mom, my stepdad, myself. We could have just hired someone, but it would have been, I don't know, maybe $25, $30 each. But instead, we opted for the $10 or $15 ride, which meant we had to sit there until the carriage was full. Well, the carriage driver, had they don't use horses, they use mules or donkeys or asses or whatever they are. And while we're sitting there, Steve is my stepdad, Steve. He's looking around at the other animals. And he notices that they've got this unusual harness on their head with a little notch in it and a leather strap that attaches to the front of their face so that when it's time to work, they pull up on the strap, latch it in so their head is held in the upright position. So Steve finally says to the guy, he goes, hey, your horse there. He goes, no, Francis is a donkey, sir. Oh, sorry. Your donkey. Do you, is it, you pull the strap onto their head, you grab the strap and you put it on, and that's how they know it's time to work? And the guy paused and he looked back at us and he looked at us for like 10 seconds and he goes, no, sir, no. Francis don't need a strap on. He's hung like a donkey. New Orleans. Man, I miss you. Oh my gosh, you know what that sound means. I love that song. But that means the February 8th, 2016 broadcast of the Brian K. White 4K news review, entertainment, bullshit, whatever show is over. It is over, my friends. It is over. You have, as it turns out, you have survived it. Yeah, so, royalty-free music by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. Segment bumpers and ever more music brought to you by the inimitable Greg the Hero. Greg the Hero, you're doing good work, man. Get a Facebook page or something. I gotta link to you. I gots to. You're just too good to not be promoting you. And, follow me around the web. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, all that good stuff. Everywhere you could want, with a few notable exceptions which don't really merit mention. It doesn't matter. Just go to glossynews.com/podcast to find links to all the good stuff. And I may be transitioning over from YouTube to Vimeo because YouTube, as I have probably mentioned, is kind of a huge pain in the ass and not terribly publisher friendly unless your name is Jason Universal Music or William Sony. Some friends of mine, they're actually related to the people, to the CEOs. They've got a leg up. You can't really beat that. So closing thoughts, you guys. Closing thought for this, the February 8th, 2016 podcast. Little kids, they're kind of like The Sims. They babble incoherently. They can handle simple tasks, but if you don't give them constant supervision, constant attention, constant direction, they'll die. They just will. And unlike The Sims, you don't get to just start over. No, the law kind of frowns on that. Well, all right, guys. That's it for this week. I will talk to you soon.